Hey folks, archaeologist Ed Barnhart here. I've been an archaeologist in the Americas for over 30 years. I have some experience in this area all around the Americas. Today, we're going to talk about the evidence that the Vikings were here centuries before our traditional understanding of European first contact. So, were they here? Yes, they were. They were here 500 years before things like Plymouth Rock or even Christopher Columbus. Somewhere right around the year 1000 CE, the Vikings were in Canada. And a lot of them. It wasn't just some little spot tagging the land. They were there and they established a colony for a little while. The route they took was from their homeland in what's now Scandinavia. They went up to Greenland. And the funny thing is that they weren't there to just colonize. The first people there were kicked out of what's now Scandinavia for being psychos. Eric the Red was a person who would not stop murdering people in Europe. And so they exiled him to Greenland. And from that base in Greenland, his son, Leif Erikson, he made it to Canada. And the location where he first landed, they called it Vinland. We now know it as Newfoundland and Labrador. And the sagas of the Vikings clearly said that he and his brothers made it to Canada. Now, for centuries, that was just a story. But in the 1960s, an archaeological site was actually found on the northern part of Labrador. Today we call it Meadows. And it is a bona fide archaeological site. In 1978, it was proclaimed a UNESCO World Heritage Site. That's how important it is. It's an actual proof that the Vikings were there centuries before. The site is not some kind of hard place to get to. It's actually a tourist park now. They have Viking life reenactments there. You can go in there and talk to people in costumes that are in Viking costumes. And you can go learn to blacksmith and weave like the Vikings did. But it is a bona fide site. Archaeologically speaking, there's about 8 buildings there, and they are traditional Viking-style architecture. Nothing like what the natives were making at the time in Canada. It's sod with a wooden interior. So they build a wooden frame, kind of dig the place into the ground for warmth, and then put dirt over the roof, again, insulating the inside. So they're this wood and sod construction. There are 8 of them. So it wasn't a big community. Probably, 150 to max 300 people could live there in the structures that were there. But it was definitely Viking. There are so many times when we find just a little hint of something in the Americas, but that's not the case here. They found over 800 verifiably Viking artifacts within this community. So that one, it's for sure there, and it is undeniable that the Vikings were here centuries before. That being said, there are other sites in the Americas that are not nearly as verifiable in context, especially the ones around the Great Lakes. There's always these stories that not only did they hit the coast of Canada, totally true, that they took their ships down through the rivers and into the Great Lakes. There's a tablet that's supposed to have Viking runes on it. There's a tombstone of sorts that talk about a settlement of Vikings. The problem with those are that they are out of context. There's not an archaeological dig that produced them. They were found in one of these typical a farmer found them stories, and they don't have an artifact assemblage around them or a site to really verify, as independent archaeologists can't come in there and say, okay, yeah, that's a site. They are stories, and they are one-off artifacts that are the telltale signs that someone's trying to trick you for clicks. So don't fall for those sites. But also, it's true. The Vikings were here centuries before European contact, as we traditionally understand it. So, a natural question is, if the Vikings were there, why didn't they stay? Why didn't they just start populating the Americas centuries before other European groups? The answer is because the natives who already lived there were tough people and they whooped the Vikings, beat them right off the coast. They had to run and abandon that first place in Vinland. They wanted to be there. It was nice. The fishing was great. It's called Vinland because there were all these neat little wild grapes that they were making super wine out of. So it was a great place, but the local population that was already there didn't want them there, and they attacked again and again and again until they were forced to leave. Leif Erikson is the one who established the colony at first, but he only took one trip. He sent his brothers. There were two brothers, both named a variation of Thor. And one of those brothers was actually killed by the local people. Archaeologically, we call those people the Dorset people. Very, very tough. And they actually murdered Leif Erikson's brother. And the second Thor tried to come recover his brother's body, but a big storm blocked his ships from getting there. So they abandoned him. Somewhere over there is the body of Leif Erikson's brother, Thor. I would love to see an archaeological project find him. But so far, a weird thing is we have no Viking burials from Vinland. Some suggest that it wasn't really even a colony, that instead it was some kind of boat shipyard repairing place. It was just a temporary spot. Others suggest that the evidence says that maybe it was there for as long as a century. There's debate on that matter, but there's no debate that the Vikings were there. But they had to leave because, unlike the peaceful priests in Ireland, where they just walked into their monastery, beat them up, and took all their stuff, the Dorset weren't having that. In fact, the Dorset did not like these big hairy people, and they kept attacking their settlement until they permanently left. And no Vikings went back there, basically because they were outmatched by Native Americans. Thanks for watching. If you liked that, here are 2 other videos that you might like as well. Please feel free to ask me questions down below in the comments, and I will answer all of those the best I can, and I'll pick a few for a monthly answer, a long form answer in a video. So, thanks.